Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday in the ending of another incredibly surreal week, work week anyway. Uh, I hope you're planning on a relaxing, nourishing weekend. I'm I'm doing this to remind you if you're enjoying these morning readings of Key to Solomon's Key, which is available, of course, from Amazon and from the publisher, and it's also available on Kindle. If you're enjoying these readings and you just happen not to have one of a copy in any of the formats of this book, uh, I want you to know that I understand that you don't have a copy of it, but it might be something that you would enjoy through the years having in your library. In other words, I'm encouraging you to at least consider buying your own copy of Key to Solomon's Key. It would make me happy and it would make my publisher ecstatic. We're coming up to the end of the first section of Key to Solomon's Key, Secrets of Magic and Masonry. And we'll continue for a few more days with the opening material from part two, which is the handbook of Solomonic magic, much of which is just excerpts from the Lesser Key of Solomon, uh, which I don't think we'll need to repeat here on our morning things. We'll probably move on to another book. But we've got a few more days here. But this is actually chapter 14, the last chapter of the first section of the book. It's called the Lost Symbol. And it starts off with a quote from Albert Pike. Early in the summer of 1870, believing that from my imperfect knowledge of Hebrew, I failed to determine correctly the meaning of many of the words of the degrees, and thinking that many might not be so corrupted as I supposed, I determined to reinvestigate them all, from the first degree to the 32nd, and found my suspicions to be true, and completed in the spring of 1871 an exhaustive examination of all the words and their meaning, and also like investigation as to the various names of deity of the Hebrews and of our ineffable word. I believe I have ascertained with two or three exceptions the real words and their often concealed meaning, the results being always interesting and sometimes surprising. Albert Pike. We now come to the end of the first section of this book. What follows in part two is my brief introduction to the practice of Solomonic magic, which I will be sharing with you, and pertinent excerpts from the Lesser Key of Solomon, and the names and descriptions of the 72 spirits of the Goetia, together with their individual seals by which they are summoned and controlled. And that is probably what I won't need to be sharing with you. I'm sure there'll be magicians who will disagree with me, but I assure you that if you are properly prepared, the remaining pages will provide you with a thorough and tidy handbook for the practice of this venerable and powerful spiritual art. I hope you realize by now that my primary purpose for writing part one of this book was to help you realize your magical birthright as a Solomon. and that unless you personally experience that transformational realization and possess that mindset, the material in part two will be for you at best useless and silly, and at worst, an invitation to delusion and madness. Please don't think I'm suggesting you must reject the historicity of the Bible or apply for initiation in the Masonic fraternity or indeed any organization in order to achieve this mindset. Religious cynicism is not a replacement for wisdom, and lodge dues cannot purchase wisdom or illumination. It's a big mistake to believe that any order or coven or club or league or fellowship or fraternity or sorority or cult or pact or sect, secret or otherwise, holds the monopoly on truth or can be the sole transmitter of the secret of the ages. That being said, I readily confess I've received immeasurable personal, professional, and spiritual benefit from my involvement in Freemasonry. And my 35 years, and now my 45 years as an initiate of Ordo Templi Orientis. But this enrichment has been the result, and I'm going to paraphrase John F. Kennedy here, not of what magic of the Masons and the OTO did for me, but what magic I did for myself because of my work and experience in those two great orders. For me, the OTO and the Masons complement each other extraordinarily well. While the former has initiated me to the most profound and subtle spiritual secrets of magic and nature, the latter has inducted me into the historic current of human thought and endeavor that has for centuries kept that knowledge and wisdom alive. In the objective reality of world politics, that current made its most revolutionary and dramatic cultural statement as a great Masonic experiment in government, the creation of the United States of America. In his highly entertaining novel, The Last Symbol, Dan Brown takes us on a whirlwind tour of Masonic Washington, D.C., a tour of American history, indeed of the history of Western civilization, that deserves our attention, recognition, and respect. I know for a fact that prior to its publication, Masonic lodges all over the United States were alerted by their respective Grand Lodges to prepare themselves to process an influx of membership applications following the book's release. This phenomenon is doubly gratifying to those of us within the fraternity who see in the Masonic experience the opportunity for profound spiritual transformation of the individual, transformation of society, and transformation of humanity. These new Masons are coming into the craft not because their fathers and grandfathers were Masons, not because they seek networking advantages to their social, business, or political aspirations, but because they want to be part of a movement in human thought and a movement in human evolution. This yearning in each of us for self-perfection and self-realization is embodied in the concept of the Freemasons' search for the lost word. In Mr. Brown's fanciful book, the plot revolves around the idea that the lost word may not be a word at all, but rather a symbol whose image can trigger in the properly prepared mind the final revelation of truth. In the story, this lost symbol will eventually be inserted inside another very famous and venerable symbol, the Ouroboros. And it always sounds like I'm drunk when I say that word. Ouroboros. But we hey, give me another one of those Ouroboros. Or Ouroboros. Say it any damn way you want. It's a serpent or a dragon swallowing its own tail, thereby forming a circle. Without entering into a discussion of the viability of conjectures put forth in a book of fiction, I have to confess I consider the Ouroboros, or more precisely, the emptiness within the circle created by the Ouroboros, to be a sublimely appropriate venue for both the Mason's lost word and Mr. Brown's lost symbol. Modern magicians, Kabbalists, and esoteric Freemasons alike hold this great zero in mystic veneration, for it represents the gateway through which existence springs from potentiality into manifestation. Nothing bringing forth everything. At the beginning of the creation cycle. And it also represents the gateway through which manifest existence returns back at the end of the creation cycle. Everything returning to nothing. There are two tarot cards that Hermetic Kabbalists tell us represent these two zeros. They are the first and the final cards of the Trump series, the Fool and the Universe. These two zeros are the Alpha and the Omega of being, the negative issuing into manifestation, and manifest being, its purpose fulfilled, returning back into the negative. The silence that precedes the creative word, or logos, and the silence that follows its reabsorption. It's impossible to properly discuss this inscrutable super zero without sounding like a fool. Which is why I believe the Fool card is at once the most clearly defined and most profoundly inscrutable card in the entire deck. It is, by my humble reckoning, the most fitting candidate for Mr. Brown's lost symbol, and the silence the Fool represents is perhaps the only contender for the lost word of Freemasonry. This symbol, this word, cannot be discovered by searching in books or solving Kabbalistic puzzles. It can only be found inside you. To paraphrase Hamlet, there are more things inside you than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Wonderful things. Terrible things. But your things nonetheless. As a magician, as a Solomon, you'll need to meet and master them all. In the Gospel according to Thomas, Jesus said, quote, if you bring forth that which is inside you, it will save you. If you do not, it will destroy you. I close with an initiation, a fictional initiation ceremony or a little ritual that I inserted in my fiction book, my novel, Accidental Christ. It's an initiation meditation for the initiation of a perfect master. Are you the feet? No, I am not. When you have no feet, I am that which remains. Are you the legs? No, I'm not. When you have no legs, I'm that which remains. Are you the phallus? No, I am not. When you have no phallus, I'm that which remains. Are you the hands? No, I am not. When you have no hands, I'm that which remains. Are you the arms? No, I'm not. When you have no arms, I'm that which remains. Are you the flesh? No, I am not. When you have no flesh, I'm that which remains. Are you the bowels? No, I am not. When you have no bowels, oh, I'm that which remains. Are you the lungs? No, I am not. When you have no lungs, I'm that which remains. Are you the heart? No, I am not. When you have no heart, I am that which remains. Are you the spine? No, I am not. When you have no spine, I'm that which remains. Are you the brain? No, I am not. When you have no brain, I'm that which remains. Are you the blood, the bones, the sinews, the hair? No, I am not. When you cast no shadow, I'm that which remains. And that'll be it for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do without which shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.